Good afternoon, Jeffrey.
Good afternoon, John. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Not bad at all. Brilliant. So, Jeffrey, we're absolutely honoured to have you participate in our CTO News Thursday vlog series. We obviously understand that you're the Director of Digital Technology at Notting Hill Genesis, who we're currently working with. And it would be just great to learn more about the great work that Notting Hill Genesis has been engaged in, as well as finding out more about yourself. Obviously, you've been with Notting Hill Genesis now for 6 months. It would just be great to learn about your journey over whether it be from when you previously joined Notting Hill Genesis and obviously in the last 6 months. So let me hand over to you, and please can you introduce yourself to our audience.
All right, thank you very much, John. Again, it's a pleasure to be on the show. Been waiting for a while to be on the show with you.
Yeah.
So, a bit about myself is I joined Notting Hill Genesis 6 months ago. I came before that I was at a private bank and media company that specialized in cryptocurrency for high net worth individual. Before that, I worked in central government, where I guess I climbed the ranks. So I worked for the Department of Education, Department for Transport, HMRC, NHS, where I really progressed in the role. So I was an application developer. I moved all the way up to head of software engineering and development and DevOps, where I really got to understand how things worked. Before that, I'd say I had quite an entrepreneurial background because I've always been a technologist at heart. From a young age, I've loved technology, and I think that's where the passion came from. And although I knew how to do things at a much younger age, I think for the last decade, I've really been honing my skill in the public sector, and that's probably what led me to join Notting Hill Genesis.
Excellent, great to hear, and thanks for sharing. That sounds like a very progressive journey, and I appreciate you probably, you've done a lot in that period of time, and it'd be great to learn more about more recent activities that you've been involved with. Brilliant. So, just if you don't mind me asking, I know you're into your sports. What sports did you play?
So I played American football at university. It was awesome. I played QB and defensive end, which is a weird combination. But in the UK, I'm probably the biggest quarterback, but one of the smallest DNs. So, but it was fun and I enjoyed it very much.
Brilliant, brilliant, excellent. That's great to hear. I too like my sports and used to play a bit of rugby back in the day, but
Yeah, I've heard. I heard you're very good
no, no,
actually.
no. Those are back in the day, and yeah, no, that's all good. Excellent, excellent. So, what is Notting Hill Genesis, and what challenges are you solving within the social housing sector?
So, Montenegro Genesis, we're very focused on our residents, and because of that, we have a 3 point plan where our strategy is really focused, as I said, on the residents. It's to have one service, one community, and one quality of home. And what that really means is that we're trying to make sure that the standard of living for our residents, no matter whether they're general needs or their private, it's at that high level of quality to ensure that we're really understanding and listening to their needs. Um, some of the challenges we face is how do we equip ourselves to be able better to listen, and this is where we use technology, and I guess working with partners such as yourselves to kind of help us on this journey in terms of how do we fuse technology with communications just to get more data so we can better serve our residents.
Okay. Absolutely, absolutely agreed. And that being the case, obviously, you're into your 6 months into your current role. And how's that journey been? I mean, what was it? Uh, you know, prior to you joining us, that prior to you joining Notting Hill Genesis and entering into the social housing sector, I know it's been like a full circle environment, because I think initially you were working within this space, and now you're obviously working within this space. But how have you found the past 6 months, especially within the social housing sector and everything that's happened, the pandemic, etc., etc.?
Actually, you're right. Actually, I take it back. When I was much younger and I was in my entrepreneurial days, I actually did work for property companies where I actually helped them, but these were more private rather than social housing. And but actually, I do actually now I think back, I actually do have quite a bit of experience in that area, and I guess working within the government and like its public sector, then the banking sector actually really, I guess, prepared me for Notting Hill Genesis. Because Notting Hill Genesis, I guess there's a perception I thought would be similar to government, but it's not. It's quite fast moving, quite a fast pace, and they're very, as I said, resident centric. And what I found is, um, thanks to Rajiv, who is my CIO, who's been very supportive and welcoming. He's kind of shown me his kind of ambition and his vision, which actually reflects what the board wants as well. So what I found is we're very it's it's demanding, but it's very rewarding. So to answer your question, how did I find my first 6 months? Very fast paced, very responsive, rather than just being reactive. So it's a good environment, but it's challenging, and it does have its challenges.
Understood, understood. I can appreciate that. I can appreciate that, when you're dealing with residents, and, there's a multitude of ways you can help a resident, from an independent living perspective to a fuel poverty perspective to damp and repair, disrepair, occupancy, etc. So there's a lot of activity, payments, there's so much going on. I can appreciate that, yeah, and I think also it's sort of, you know, the processes and the environment Notting Hill Genesis has in place makes it, I believe, quite accommodating to onboard members of staff and get them into the flow of things and getting them into the ways of working. So that's great to hear. Brilliant. So can you share innovative projects that you've been involved in since you've been at Notting Hill Genesis, or anything that's sort of cooking underneath the ether, if that makes sense?
Oh well, I guess the ones that I've been involved in. So there's one work-wise, which is an autumn system. It's Notting Hill Genesis in-house, I guess, housing solution. And although it's been in Notting Hill for maybe a few years, it's something that we take pride in, and we're constantly evolving and making sure it's customer resident centric, and it's it's always evolving. That being said, there's other products such as IoT, trying to use smart devices to kind of monitor the housing part of the, I guess, Golden Thread initiative. And then we also have things like just trying to explore technology and making technology used better. So we're working with your with your company for smart information management system, which is awesome. It's a way for us to track documents and be really responsive and understanding where all our documents are. So things like that, we're always trying to use technology to better organization, but keep on top as well.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, yeah, that's absolutely correct. And it's a pleasure to be working with you. Okay, so Notting Hill Genesis manages approximately 67,000 homes, of which 90% are London boroughs. And it'll be interesting to learn how Notting Hill Genesis is using technology to improve resident experience, to improve energy efficiency, and to improve household safety in terms of the asset, your housing stock. I know you've touched upon it with regard to the use of IoT, but it'd just be great to elaborate a bit more around those sort of subject matters.
So yeah, so obviously there's government initiatives and about using technology to help us kind of get feedback on the properties and their conditions. And what we found is working with partners such as yourself, what we're trying to do is build a kind of network where we can be putting sensors in communal areas and in households and collect information that's actually using smart algorithms to kind of predict and tell us where a home is in potential poverty or whether there's damp or mold conditions being met. And it's actually just working with partners and understanding that as a housing association, we're not a software house or a robotics company, but instead what we need to do is utilize partners such as yourselves to really make sure that we're utilizing and getting the right data in.
Absolutely. Absolutely agreed. Absolutely understood. Excellent. So I remember seeing the digital technology strategy that Rajiv shared. This must have been a good 6 months ago when you first joined. And it's absolutely fantastic. And for anyone who's interested, simply go on to Rajiv Peter, CIO, Notting Hill Genesis, and you'll be able to see their strategy for 2021 to 2024. And it'd just be great to understand from yourself, how have you sort of delivered so far on that roadmap, and what does that future look like as well?
So you probably realize in that roadmap where we've done a lot of things with Microsoft, and I think one of the key points of doing that is that Microsoft is able to provide a really stable platform that allows us to just use data or sensors from different points. And one thing we realize is what you need is something stable. And what Microsoft gives us is that stability. And then from that, we're able to build on top and build other things that are really helping us really help and improve the residents' experience. So to answer your question in terms of that journey or that, I guess, our roadmap of what we're doing, it's because we're thinking of the customer's coming first, that we're investing in our technology. And I think the right investment in technology allows us to really utilize the data that we get back, or allows us to innovate to the point that we're first in the market to do stuff that will then cascade throughout the housing sector, allowing us to be kind of sector leaders. So, for example, we're working with IT labs to try and create sensors in the communal areas to allow us to be proactive in, as I've mentioned before, monitoring and taking advantage of, I guess, the kind of new things in technology like 5Gs to be able to be more proactive in having alerts and just utilizing data in a better way. So our I guess, as you said, plan kind of reflects that and utilizing technology, but for the resident.
Brilliant. Yeah. It's I think they've got various government agendas that's come out, whether it be the white paper and the green paper, that really just focus on the resident and the asset, i.e., the building, the housing stock, and trying to improve that environment, which is great. So you've obviously worked within the public sector, and have you been able to incorporate some of the other public sector's ways of working into your Director of Digital Technology role at Notting Hill Genesis?
I think I've been fortunate that I seem to land in places that are very forward thinking in terms of the way they utilize technology. And the only thing I can do is, I guess, bring my experience and expertise to help kind of steer and still push and leadership. And I guess one of some lessons I've learned is when I was at the Department for Transport, it was a really greenfield experience. And what's often can happen is at the start of the adventure, it was very clear. The CTO at the time knew what they wanted, but then you get to the point where you're bringing in other people, you get too many chefs in the kitchen, and what tends to happen is it kind of smothers the original idea of why we're doing what we're doing, and in turn, what happens is cost increases. At Notting Hill Genesis, one of the things I found is they're very cost aware and constantly trying to refine and save money. So because they know when they save money, they're saving money for the residents and making sure that we can invest in tasks or projects that help improve the quality and experience for the residents. So I find it, I guess, to answer your question, you can always bring things across from the public sector to, I guess from central government to the public sector, but sometimes with someone like Notting Hill Genesis, they're accountable to the board and their residents, more to the taxpayers. And I think when you're accountable to someone like residents, where you actually get the opportunity to see them day in and day out, you feel there's more of a rapport and a connection, and you actually strive to deliver and be better for them. While with government, it's the whole taxpayer, but anyone can be a taxpayer, and sometimes it's forgotten. And savings that should be made are not always done. Well, not on Hill Genesis, the focus is making savings so that we can better the experience and better the quality for our residents. So to answer your question, there's some things you can take, but I think working in the housing sector, it's a different nuance than in central government.
Yeah, understood. Understood. Okay. So, Jeffrey, can you please talk about the importance of building internal business relationships within Notting Hill Genesis?
Oh yeah, definitely. See, often what tends to happen in a lot of organisations is they're silos, and people tend to think that they're working for their own common good or their own silo. But when you have a really good relationship with your different business units, you realise that you actually have one mission, and that mission is to provide a better service for your resident. And I feel that's really important because when you have that mentality and you have that one mindset, better collaborate, you better work together, and you don't see other people's mistakes as their mistakes, you see it as a collective mistake, and you want to help everyone improve and get better. So that's why it's important, because it fosters and kind of harbors that collaboration and family environment. And that's what you really want from an organization, so from a social housing organization anyway.
Excellent. And that's great to hear. So, Jeffrey, that really ties up to our next question, which is Notting Hill Genesis began in 1963 and was founded by Reverend Bruce Kendrick and a group of residents who had a clear sort of vision of values to put in homes and the community, and made that the sort of the heart of the operation at Notting Hill Genesis. Can you give us some examples of what lies ahead in the future for Notting Hill Genesis in the next, say, 5 to 10 years, please?
Oh, wow, that's a really good question. What lies ahead? We really are focused and committed to giving our residents the best experience and the best community. I mentioned before about the 3 point plan, but it's really focused on the resident. So what hopefully you'll see is better resident experience, a better resident customer experience, and really just us really excelling at providing our service and being more than just a landlord, but providing a safe environment for our residents to really aspire to be more and feel feel that they're living in a house rather than just a place, that they're living in their castle. So I think to answer your question, it's all resident centric, but it's all hopefully to benefit the resident. So hopefully, obviously, our stock will grow, but we're able to manage and continue to provide a really resident centric and positive environment and positive ecosystem for our residents to prosper.
Yeah, yeah, no, I hear you. That's really good to hear. I think to put residents at the heart of everything is really key in ensuring that you're delivering value to helping those residents who are in different stages of their journey in your housing stock. Excellent. So, can you share? Obviously, working with Rajiv, he is the CIO of Notting Hill Genesis. Can you just give some examples of working with C-suite stakeholders within Notting Hill Genesis, and how that's fostering good working relationships to help deliver the strategic objectives of the organisation?
Yeah, so I think what's really good about I guess, the executive board and the C-suite are they're very approachable and very knowledgeable individuals. And what I find myself is I never feel intimidated. I always feel welcome because I feel like if you're able to have if you have a plan or you have something that you think will help benefit, they're always eager to listen and ask how how can we achieve it in a way that's efficient and beneficial to the resident. And I feel like that experience and that knowledge, and people such as Rajiv, Kate, who will be leaving, um, it's really valuable. It has been valuable for this organization's success, and I feel like they've really led the way for us to innovate using technology. I've been at an executive board, and I've been in a actual away day with the actual chair, and what I found is they're very technology driven because I understand that technology helps us make better improvements for the residents. And what I found is that the board all agree as well. That's something that's very inspiring, and knowing that they're forward thinking and they're not stuck in, to use the word, the Stone Age, that they're actually forward thinking. So almost to answer your question, you said, where do you see us in 5 to 10 years? I feel we're going to be very technology and data driven, and really trying to use that to help us make better decisions that will always benefit the resident. So
Absolutely, absolutely agreed. And that is always the case. Everything starts with data, and then where does data then foster out into better use of technology is the key for driving stability, especially within the social housing sector. Excellent. Okay, so if you don't mind me asking, and you may not be able to answer this question, who inspires you in your day-to-day environment, or whether it be within Notting Hill Genesis or in your day-to-day environment? Who are the inspirations? Where do you get your inspirations from whether it be seeing good pieces of work or people that are doing things that are quite exceptional within that space of using technology within the social housing sector?
that's a really good question. To be fair, who um, I'm a religious person. God always inspires me, but God inspires me to be optimistic and have belief in people. So, to answer your question, I feel like I'll always give people the benefit of the doubt that wants to do well and help others, and
Yeah,
I'll always encourage that kind of behavior. And I'm inspired because there's so many people in the organization that really want to help the residents and really
yeah,
want to help, and that inspires me to keep pushing. And I've also got a young daughter, and I think to myself, what world do I want to leave her? What world do I want her to inherit? And I thought, if we always give people the benefit of the doubt and we help people try and be the best that they can be, that's the best world to leave. So
absolutely.
that's what inspires me.
Brilliant, and that's great to hear. And I've been to your offices and actually see the passion that's seeping out of your buildings, i.e., your members of staff and your colleagues and peers who are absolutely dedicated to helping residents and their needs living in the stock that you're providing at Nottingham Genesis. And that's absolutely great to hear.
I'm glad you can see it. That's good.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It's very inspiring. It is very inspiring. Absolutely, it is. It really is. Okay. Um, please could you share, I appreciate the time as well. So please could you share, which technology most interests you currently?
Which technology? Hmm. If I say Internet of Things, it's only because of connectivity of what you can do with it. But the truth is, um, I told you, I think at the beginning, I'm a technologist. And although I'm working in the technology space, what really inspires me right now in terms of technology is energy technology. But I guess that's my private project. But I feel like almost like if you can almost help with almost like this energy crisis by thinking, how do we use renewable, or how do we use alternatives that we can help our residents. And it'll be, if we can reduce the cost of energy, then we can help our residents. And I guess for me, it's looking into technology that can help that, and then using traditional digital technology to kind of foster that and actually, I guess, bring that to life. So that's the kind of area I'm interested in, IoT, but really energy technology.
Energy, pardon me. Absolutely agreed, and I do hear you. I think there's so many use cases and business cases with regards to use of technology, or energy, should I say? And what I mean by that is, just imagine you had a scenario where you had sort of a battery powered generator that's in your garden, for example, that is taking surplus energy from the net and basically you're using that to charge your environment.
Exactly. Imagine if you provide residents the ability to charge their homes at free for free, and potentially pull it back on the grid and earn from that. Just
Yes,
things like
yes,
that.
yeah,
It's inspiring. This is why I look at energy technology and how we can use existing technology to try and help push that forward. But that's why I'm interested in it.
brilliant, excellent, great to hear, brilliant. Okay, so what do you do in your spare time? Obviously, you touched on sports, but what's your, what does your spare time look like? What do you like to get up to?
Sleeping, American football,
Excellent.
um, spending time with family. Like I said, I've got a young daughter who I love dearly, and I'm trying to inspire her to be able to do anything she wants. So, if I'm not taking her out on the weekend, it's me trying to teach her how to code or just spending quality time with her. I've got brothers that have special needs, and it's spending time with family just to make sure that you spend the time with those who you love. And I try to spend time with friends, but I probably don't spend as much as I should. But definitely with family, and just making sure every kind of second counts.
Yeah, yeah,
That's what we
100%.
like to do. Yeah, and improving technology.
No, I hear you, and I 100% agree with you once again. I think spending time with family, loved ones, and just spending quality time, whether it be from having a chat with someone to, as you said, you've got a daughter, doing things with her, inspiring her. That's absolutely fantastic to hear, and that's the way forward, 100%. Brilliant. So, Jeffrey, many thanks for your time today. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you. It's great to learn about the great work that you're doing at Notting Hill Genesis and the way that Notting Hill Genesis is helping its residents, through the better use of technology, devices, IoT, and all the myriads of solutions and processes you have in place. So, yeah, I'd like to thank you, and we look forward to speaking to you again soon. Over to you.
Thank you very much, John, for having me. And if you ever need me on the show again, it'll be a pleasure to join you again. So you take care now, and thank you.
Thank you.